limited government, a powerful, powerful thought. I don't think many people realize that there was no economic growth from the beginning of time until the year 1500. Imagine this, thousands and thousands of years and no economic growth. You could pop a person out of the 1500s and look at their great-great and go back 1,000 greats, and there would be no difference of standard of living between 1,000 years ago or 2,000 or whatever and a person in 1500. And then all of a sudden, we get some economic growth in Western Europe in the 17th and the 18th century. Not significant, but you could tell differences of standard of living to generation to generation. And then the United States in the 19th and the 20th century, the rise of the United States. And now we'll see the rise of the rest of the world. Glad that they're going to finally join the party. Why did Western Europe begin to make a move? Well, I think some of the big reasons are in 1215, a document was signed in Runnymede, England. It was called the Magna Carta. It was between King John and the barons. And the barons said to King John, we're tired of you passing laws and not making the king and the court come under those laws. King John, who's going to give us some protection of property rights? King John, who in the world do you think you are? So the point is, at Runnymede, England, 20 miles out of London, they signed the Magna Carta, and this is the first document of mankind that began to put some limitations on kings and queens and on central governments. But then in Western Europe we saw more, because in 1517, here comes Martin Luther, goes to the Wittenberg door in Germany, pounds up his 95 theses, and says what? Well, we're not going to go into the theology, but we can talk about the outcomes. He says, save, invest, work hard, do business for the glory of God. And all of a sudden, a new idea begins to sweep Europe, that hard work is the name of the game, and that you've got save and invest. So Martin Luther had a big effect on the continent. And then, of course, much later than that, you have John Locke writing at Oxford University. And John Locke is saying freedom is the mainspring of economic prosperity. And so freedom now begins to, what is it? How does it work? What's it all about? And then Adam Smith writes his book there as a Scottish economic philosopher, and his book is entitled The Wealth of Nations. And the big thing that Adam Smith said was, you want to specialize and trade. There's no way to increase wealth like specialization and trade. So now you have these ideas permeating Europe. Western Europe begins to take off. The Founding Fathers come to America. They start putting it together. They take the ideas of John Locke and the ideas of Martin Luther and the ideas of Adam Smith and the Magna Carta, and all this comes together. And I'm telling you, now you're getting economic liftoff from a brand new country. The Founding Fathers were under no illusions about what they wanted to create. We've got to create a limited government. How do we do that? Well, how about a legislative branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch balancing each other off and counteracting power? How about a federal government counteracting with all the state governments? How about that idea? How about James Madison and John Adams writing a Constitution of the United States that is full of delegations and enumerations? That is to say, federal government, you can do this much but no more, delegated power. Federal government, you can do this much but no more, enumerated power. And so they did their best. They did their best to create this thing called a limited government. And by and large, they were quite successful. Our Founding Fathers were not under the illusion that democracy creates prosperity. It does not. I mean, it was James Madison who said, we've designed this government to protect freedom from democracy and the individual from the majority. So they saw it. I mean, they were very clear on a democracy is simply two wolves and one sheep voting on what we're going to have for dinner. I mean, any time that 51% of the electorate can steal from the 49%, you're dead in the water. And they saw this instability in democracy, and they were very, very concerned. But when you are able to create limited government And we did it for a good part of our history. You open up a space for freedom. Hold back government, open up a space for freedom, and guess what fills that space? You, builders, creators, dreamers, doers, engineers, entrepreneurs, inventors. That is what filled the space, resulting in the United States with less than 5% of the world's population today, 21st century, producing 1/3 of the world's wealth. Limited government, friends, limited government.